Belas Knap burial chamber, which dates to at least 5,000 years old, although the oldest burials here date even older than that. They kind of round it off to the 5,000-year-old period, but there are skeletons, 38 in total, some that date to 3,700 BC. And two of the skulls that we saw in an old photo during the excavation in the early 1900s are very robust, very powerful looking, almost Cro-Magnon, beaker people type skulls. So we know that they were here at some point. However, the 3,007-year-old period is the British Neolithic people, and these were slighter people, had longer heads, were smaller framed, and so this was obviously reused. And what's really interesting about this, right in the centre of this, underneath it, some flat stone slabs in a circle were found. So there could have been a stone circle here, and then they would put flat, and then Belas Knap was built on top of it. So we don't know exactly what was going on then, but that is one of the strange things. The whole landscape here is beautiful. It's similar to what we find at Hetty Pegler's Tub and other places in the area, in the whole Cotswolds area. And there are two other chambers on the other side. If we look at this map here, just along this side here, which is the east side, we find two chambers, whereas on the other side, right over the other side of the main mound here, is one chamber, and the front chamber is like a fake chamber, it's not even real. So let's go and take a look at that, because inside that were several children's burials and a male young adult, and then that was sealed up like a sort of false door, often like we find in Peru and Egypt and other megalithic cultures around the world. You can see the large megalithic block and the dry stone walling that's been placed around it, along with the lintel and the two side stones. Then we have the kind of legs of the goddess, which to me, you know, with Belas Knap, it looks more like a kneeling goddess. It's like that's her knee there, and her shin goes down under here, and her feet are kind of in the ground in a cross-legged position. And this is a vulva going into the great chamber, although this is blocked. So did that have meaning? Did the blocked entrance here have meaning? Was it they were sealing whoever they wanted in here forever, to not be reborn again and come out with the sunlight? Or was there something else going on? I find this really intriguing. This also kind of faces north, and the back end faces south. So this is an unusual alignment. If this is correct, and if this was used as an actual chamber, we must question what they were looking at. Was it potentially Cygnus? Was it Deneb? Was it the centre of the Milky Way, where the dead were being represented as travelling through that area into a portal? Because this is also known as the portal entrance. It's a name given to it, so they could have meaning. This dry stone walling I find quite interesting as well. You can see that all around here. This is beautifully done. This is something we see up on Orkney. We even see similar stuff like this, similar technique on Easter Island. So whether there's a connection, we just don't know. So this is the chamber on the eastern flank of Belas Knap. It's got metal in it now to hold it all together, but you can see it's a kind of circular chamber. It's been reconstructed. It's got huge stones in here, and several burials were found in here. So this is just one of the chambers at Belas Knap on the eastern flank. It's the one nearest the front. There were several burials found in here. It's been reconstructed, you can tell. I would imagine there was large stone lintels on top. But it has been partly destroyed, this whole site, so they've reconstructed it and they leave it open to the public, which is a great thing. But I think people still come here and do rituals. But just these stones here, like you can see the one behind me, it's very kind of, it's almost like diamond shaped on the top. So that would suggest it could be represent the female, whereas we have a more phallic stone there, which could represent the male. And I would imagine, like with all the other chambers I go in now, you realise they were probably leaving seeds in here to have them charged up by the natural telluric currents and underground water. And I would certainly believe they were doing that here, because it's one of the primary sites in Britain where it was known agriculture was in full swing in at least 3,700 BC. The chamber, the furthest towards the back on the eastern flank of Belas Knap, and you can just see here it's a very low chamber. It's not particularly megalithic. The stones in here are fairly small, and I would imagine there were lintels on top, and you could just about lie in here if you wanted to be in here. But obviously there were burials in here. Possibly. We're just walking around the back of the chamber now. You can just see behind me, that's the very small chamber we just entered, and further on was the other quite large chamber with megalithic blocks in it still. You can see the way it rises up from the ground. It's like these Cotswold Severn chambers, they kind of merge into the ground at the back of them as though they're kind of rejoining the earth. Whereas the front of them are kind of like the open legs of the goddess, who I believe was potentially represents a kneeling goddess, which could have something to do with the Quizzo position, which we find in other cultures that were building with megalithic stones. But if we continue walking around here, it's got this modern wall obviously put around here, but even at the back of it, we have this. So it's like double-ended. So this is at the back of Belas Knap. This is at the very hind of it. So this is very strange. So at the front we have the false opening, which is more or less directed north, and at the very back, directed south, we have this false opening. But you can see it's like a kind of, you can see behind me, it's like a kind of long straight area with a stone blocking it. So it does suggest that this was used in a different way, or had multiple different families or elite tribal leaders living in this area and controlling this area. And so they had different entrances, different parts representing their different cultures perhaps. So we're just now walking down the western flank from north to south, and here we have another chamber. This one's a little bit different. Oh, and we have someone already in here doing their magical incantations. As you walk around Belas Knap, there appears to be a kind of ditch around it. This is something we find in circular mounds, certainly like at Stonehenge landscape. Severn Barrow is not too far from here, and several other sites. I mean, hundreds of other sites really. And it's just such an unusual site, such a freaky kind of look to this place. It just really intrigues me. This is a fake entrance. Behind this were bodies with skulls and skeletons of children and one adult, and then it was sealed up. This is quite unusual, but this could have just been the unique nature of the people who built these sites in this area. The similarities with Stonehenge, we have similar round barrows, the Severn barrows for instance. We have lintels over the top with earthworks and with the megalithic construction, but these were before the Stonehenge builders, although it is roughly the same date as some of the area around Durrington. And all over the country there were probably these elite groups, these tribes, and we know that they were very, very powerful ruling elite who controlled agriculture, who knew about astronomy and understood fertility in the landscape. And this is one fine example of their great works. But in here, several bodies were found, skulls, women's bodies as well. It's been reconstructed, but it's still got some of the megalithic blocks in here. But this is a beautiful little spot. So, and I find this very unusual to have these outer chambers around the edge. But for any megalithomaniac, this is worth a visit. Seriously, it's an amazing site. And the name Belas Knap intrigues me because it's got Bel, it could be linked with Belinus, the ancient king, and his father Molmutius, who enabled the law, the Molmutine laws, to protect people, sanctified avenues through and pathways through the whole of Britain, so anyone could travel freely. So I wonder if that's got any connection with this site. It may well have, although this was obviously built a long time before him. But anyway, this is just a beautiful place. It's even got some acoustics on some of the stones. Amazing.